Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Shai by Shem Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, whose labors we've entered into. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, and for all the Akim and Aqua tuning in. May this lesson be edifying. It is the brother Halal from the Great Millstone branch coming at you with another lesson in truth. And we're starting to see, well, not starting to see, but for the past few years, especially ever since 2020 when that lockdown happened, we have been seeing a steady increase of these Edomites, crashing out, and losing their minds at the um the fall of their kingdom, and them seeing everything that their forefathers, worked so hard for. Well, and by working hard, I mean, going throughout the earth, slaying folk, stealing their resources, all manner of unrighteous dealing. They're seeing everything that their forefathers worked for completely go to waste, you know. And for us, it's a beautiful thing to see, but for them, they're seeing everything that they've ever known completely go to waste, you know. And it's causing these heathen, mainly Esau, Edom in particular, to crash out. Is Psalm chapter 2 and 1 that says, "And why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" Right? We're seeing the heathens rage right now. We're seeing Esau Edom in a rage at the downfall, of his kingdom. For those who tuned in to the Apostle Gabar's lesson yesterday, he made a response to the elders over there in South Carolina, and the video that brother made over there, going into showing various video clips of these Edomites, crying and yelling and screaming about the economic instability of America, and how everything's going to waste. There was one Edomite that even flat out said that he wishes to die soon, you know, just to avoid the afflictions and the trials and what they're dealing with. So, hey, we're seeing the heathen rage, you know, and although we deal with our afflictions and our trials, man, one of the things that gives us strength in this walk of ours as we walk the straight path is seeing our enemies completely lose their mind, in confusion, seeing them in a terrified and confused state, not really knowing what's going on, and in total fear of what could happen next, you know, as we see event after event transpire, these new viruses coming out, people catching, like that new virus that came out, the HANTA virus, that people caught and were still able to go back to their respective homes, to infect more people. Babylonians are saying that the government is trying to establish another lockdown in order to assert more control with this digital system that's soon to come. And these Edomites can basically do nothing about it. There's Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 7, and it says, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee which persecute thee." And we're seeing the Lord put all the curses, that we had to endure as a result of us breaking the first covenant with the Most High, through sin and transgression and idolatry and not serving our power. We're seeing these curses fall upon these heathens in these last days as their kingdom starts to fall. Because like I said in a lesson I made last week, going into a topic similar to this, hey, you Edomites had your time to rule the earth in wickedness, destroy the ecosystem, poison the food supply, put various synthetic chemicals and hormone blockers and endocrine disruptors in all the food, your different corporations, man. You Edomites as a people, the Lord has given you favor in the earth and allowing you to rule it. and use you as our whooping stick for these past few hundred years. But now the time has come for it to all be done away with, and for you to be done away with as well eventually. You know, hey, what goes up must come down. Says from there, let's go to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 7, and it says, Then answered I and said, What shall the parting asunder of the time? I mean, so like it says, What shall be the parting asunder of the time? Or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. It says, For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is that ultimately, towards the end of this world, which is, Esau's rulership, that they will be the last nation to rule before the return of Yahweh Shai. Like it says in Daniel, like it says in Revelation, I believe, chapter 7, if I'm not mistaken, where it says the kingdoms of this earth are fallen and have become the Lord's. And that is referring to when Yahweh Shai returns to a world ruled by Esau Edom, and he takes it over by violently overthrowing Esau Edom. See us, the prophets, man, we just speak the words of our Lord, but the actual judgment and the physicality, we're going to leave that up to Yahweh Shai when he comes back. And what will happen at the end of Esau's world? Verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And at that time, friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. And what is this speaking of? This is speaking of economic instability. This is speaking of tension between people because of the lack of resources in Babylon the Great. Because very soon there's going to be mass famines, lack of food, lack of water, all the essential things we need to survive. And these are all the things that are causing people to crash out now. But in all actuality, the true hell that the Lord has unleashed upon this place is not came, but it's beginning right now, but it hasn't fully reached its climax, you know, and it's all gonna be for the punishment of the Edom, man. And that's why we're seeing these Edomites crash out. A prime example of that is their streamer, that popular streamer who, in all actuality, his career was really, very short, but that fool Chud the Builder just recently got snatched up for attempted murder in Tennessee. For those who don't know who Chud the Builder is, he's a one of those Twitch streamers. I don't know what platform he's on, but I'm pretty sure it's Twitch. And he goes around bothering Jake's so-called black folk, and provoking them to get into a physical altercation with him, so that he can show his pepper spray or his firearm. He's known for instigating confrontations with other people, and just the other day, today is Thursday, but yesterday on Wednesday, he just tried to, shoot and kill a Jake, that had enough of his shit and whooped his ass. So Esau Edom is the one chimping out now. You know why? Because you're losing your kingdom, and it's in everything that you enjoy. The lies that you've been taught about your nation. When you were a kid from the youth up, you're finding out that the only thing you've ever learned was lies, man. So I ended off with this. There's the book of Lamentation, chapter 4 and 21. And it says, Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup shall also pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So the time has come for you Edomites to be punished for what you've done to the earth. Because our iniquity, the Israelites, our iniquity is almost up. Though we broken the first covenant, and the wicked of our people got Yahushua crucified. We committed a multitude of sins against our Lord. Our punishment is almost over. When our Lord, when Yahushua makes his return, that will be the end of our punishment and the beginning of yours. You know. But I hope this lesson was edifying, and with that, I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, GMS, who rule well and teach well. Shalom, Kwame, Sha'alawa, Ababu Ball. See you in the next lesson, Lord will.